Hello and welcome back to the NBA DFS Slate Breakdown for Tuesday, November 9th. We are back after a big slate last night. It was a good one. I took home 5th in FanDuel. Unfortunately, couldn't close it at the end. I was in first for a long time, but just slid down a little bit because I didn't have enough exposure to the late games. Oh well, it happens. I'm your host, Tyler Wiemann, at FlatTyler83 on the DFS sites, and let's dig into the nice big slate. But before we do, come join us at LineStar. As always, we have a 7-day free trial through the app stores, through Android or iOS app. Just download us there, LineStar DFS, LineStar app, and you can get that trial if you've never used us before. So let's do it. Let's get involved. And that gets you access to everything you see here, all of our tools, all of our props. You get it all for one low price on both the apps and the website. Now, let's dig into it. We got 6 games on both sites. Starting at point guard, high owned is Jamal Murray, 23% owned. The news just recently dropped. Jokic is out again. And without him there, he's had back-to-back 40-point nights, 8.1K. It's an NBA Cup night. So you got to imagine his minutes are going to be very, very solid. And over the last couple games, 38, 43, and 37 minutes. Think we might be a little low projecting him for only 36.5 here. Definitely looks good. I'm going to have some. I might be just slightly below what we are on the ownership, though, because I will be a lot heavier on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Good old SGA. I just like this spot. Once again, without Chet, he just has so much usage. The minutes should be solid. And it's a great matchup versus the Spurs. So absolutely intrigued by going with some SGA in this spot. He is my favorite high-priced option on this slate. And next we got Kyrie Irving, 16% owned, 8.9K. I'm fine with a little bit of Kyrie, but it is not a spot that I'm going really hard on. I get it if you want to go versus the Pelicans, but it's just not one of my favorite spots on the slate. I think there are some other options. I do like LaMelo Ball, going to have some of him, but the love for SGA and Jamal Murray is just kind of outshining him a little bit. And then there's also some pivots that I like, one being Drew Holiday. He is only 5,600. He is expected to play this game. And in a tough matchup versus Cleveland, and with it being part of NBA Cup, I think that his minutes are going to be very solid. At only 5,600, he can absolutely hit 40 or 40 plus if he gets the run. The run is the issue this season, is that most games he's more around that 30, 28, 29 minute mark. If he gets 32, 34 minutes, this spot is looking really interesting, even versus a tough Cleveland Cavs team. So very interesting spot, and I'm interested in taking some swings on it. I also don't mind going to Derek White, 7,200. Pretty much everything applies to him in this spot. He has a huge ceiling, and with no Porzingis, he just shoots it more like he has all season long. 40s are absolutely possible in this spot as well. The benefit of him is that he does get Donovan Mitchell guarding him. But Cavs have been tough versus guards as a whole for the last couple of years. Next, we got Stephon Castle. I think he's been balling. He's been playing pretty well. Another thing here is that Devin Vassell is questionable and Wemby is out. So he gets a little boost to his usage here. I think his minutes are a little more secure if Vassell is out as well. Very interested in going to some Castle as a low-owned pivot. And if that game stays close, it starts to look really interesting on both sides of the ball game. Getting over to DraftKings point guard, high own, we got Cason Wallace, 3,800. We don't really know who's going to start for OKC from night to night. If he starts, he's an interesting option. If he doesn't start, he gets a little less minutes and just usually isn't that productive. Now, If he starts, I'm okay having some of him, but there's not much ceiling. That is the one issue here, is that, you know, he's 3,800, but he's not giving you, say, 30 fantasy points. And to win a GPP, you generally need 30 plus from every single spot. And I just don't know if we can get that from Wallace. I don't mind going there, but it is a little scary there. Next, we got Dennis Schroeder, 6,100. He has fallen off a little bit, but he is in a great spot versus the Hornets. If you want to take some swings here, I am absolutely fine with it. His minutes should be a little more secure, and I mean, it's the Hornets. They really can't stop anybody. I don't mind having some of him. It's just not one of my prized possessions, if you will, of this slate. Jamal Murray, 8,300. He absolutely needs to be considered, as well as Drew Holiday. We covered him. So let's get it over to shooting guard on FanDuel. Trey Murray, 9,400, or Murphy, 5,400, 42% owned. Versus the Mavs, I'm definitely going to go here. There is a little worry. He was out last game with a hamstring issue, so I do worry about his minutes a little bit. He is working back from, missing the first start of the season, and then he went 26, 26, and 30 minutes. I thought his minutes would be up a little bit. That's what I think, and that's why I want to go here. But if news drops that that hamstring is bothering him, or he may be on a little bit of a limit again, maybe pull that back. But he is a guy that can get hot and put up some big scores. At 5,400, he absolutely can give you 40. And I like that value, definitely willing to take some swings there. Alex Caruso, 4K. He's in another spot just like Wallace. I know the ceiling is there with him, and he can be very efficient with fantasy scoring, but simply he's not getting enough minutes, and I can't go there because of that. Austin Reeves, 7,100. He has been playing point guard night in and night out, and with the NBA Cup, he should be getting up to 34, 35 minutes versus Jazz, which is in a great spot. Intrigued to go here. My issue is he's pretty much high 30s or low 40s, and that's just where he is. Super consistent at getting that, which, it helps you, but he does kind of lack some ceiling. Every now and then you can see him go for 50, but it's pretty rare. I don't mind having some, but it's not going to be a focal point of my lineups. Some pivots. Christian Braun, 6,300 versus Grizzlies, no Jokic. And when that happens, he just has a little bit more of a ceiling. We've seen him hit 40 a little bit in the last couple weeks. And, last game versus Memphis, he scored 26 and didn't even hit a 3. So I think that he also only got 1 steal or 1 block. I think there is a path to him getting mid-30s, mid-40s in fantasy points. And I don't mind taking some shots if he's low owned. I do think this price is getting up there on him a little bit, but without Aaron Gordon, without Jokic, his usage is just going to go up, so I'm willing to take some shots. Julian Champagne, I am also willing to take some shots here without Wemby, especially if Vassal's out, just because his minutes could be more like 28 or 30, and the guy can get it up in the steals, blocks department, and that's really his path to a 30-plus performance. Can it happen? Yes. Is it likely? No, but I'm willing to take a few shots at it. And Lou Dort, 5,400. Look, it's Jalen Williams, SGA, and Lou Dort that are playing the consistent big minutes in OKC. With it being a cup game, those minutes are solid. Potential for getting up to 34 minutes or so. He played 36 versus Dallas last time, and we have him at 32.5 minutes. So I think there is some room for him to get a little bit bigger of a game here. We've seen him go mid-30s many times this year, and at 5,400, I am absolutely fine with him going for 35, 36, and taking it as a slight value and moving on to try and spend up elsewhere. Derek White, Castle, we talked about, and let's move it on over to shooting guard. Jordan Clarkson, 5,200, 33% owned on DraftKings. Absolutely intrigued with him at 5,200. Look, he is putting up 30 points with a 40-point ceiling in the last couple weeks. He's playing 30 minutes a night. He's a guy that when he's hot, he can really fill the bucket and has a decent track record of 30s versus Lakers. So I don't mind going here whatsoever. I do like this Lakers game. If Utah is able to keep it a little close, which I think they absolutely can, everybody gets their allotment of minutes. It's a late night hammer, and it's a spot that there's probably not a ton of ownership on. So I don't mind having some exposure to that last game. Lou Dort, we talked about. Wallace, we talked about. Braun, we talked about. Schroeder, we talked about. Murray, we talked about. Let's move it on over to small forward. Trey Murphy, LeBron James, 39% owned, 10K, 2.5 star alert score. He came back down to earth the last 2 games, but minutes have been very, very solid for LeBron, and that's one thing where I am intrigued about going to him today. I'm not going to have a lot, so over his last 20 starts, he's at like 1.4 fantasy per minute. So far this season, we have seen that a little bit lower, and it's just because they're not running as much of the offense through LeBron. He has seen an uptick since D'Angelo Russell went to the bench, so that is interesting. With his 37 minutes, I'm fine getting to some, but it's definitely not a focal point of my lineups, and I would rather AD than LeBron at these prices. Brandon Ingram, 8,600. I am absolutely getting some BI. I would expect him to start at point guard again, especially going against Luka. Luka is questionable, but I imagine he plays in this one. And with him at point guard, I would be shocked if BI didn't also play point guard. And at point, he just has so much more usage, has back-to-back 50 burgers. And at 8,600, I'm fine going there in a decent matchup. Austin Reeves, we covered. Braun, we covered. Champagne, we covered. All right, Laurie Marketing, 7,300. This is a little bit of a scary one because he hasn't been playing very well lately. But his role is the same. He's played solid minutes the last 2 games. Just wasn't really hitting. I mean, he scored 25 points and only attempted 8 shots, 5 rebounds, 1 assist. Then last game out had played 39 minutes and scored 33. But once again, only 12 shots. We just need those shots to get back up into the 15s, 17s, 20. And he has a huge ceiling ahead of him. And with his decreased price, I am absolutely fine going here. His role is the same. They paid him. He's a focal point of the team. Those shot numbers are going to come back up, and he's going to start crushing again soon, I'm sure. Absolutely fine taking some marketing and being at low owned. I think he's an interesting spot. Lou Dort, we talked about. Rui Hachimura, 5,100. Look, he's been mid 30s and able to hit 40 this year versus Utah. It's a great spot. Really scoring is how he gets there. And this is one of the better scoring spots he'll be in all year long. So I'm fine taking some Rui. And let's get over to small forward on DraftKings. We got LeBron, Dort, Murphy, Jason Tatum, 10.1K, 20% owned. I'm interested in him in this spot. I'm interested in a lot of Celtics. For one reason, the Celtics really haven't had to play big-time minutes. But what we saw in the playoffs last year was Tatum, playing 40-plus minutes and having 60 points versus them. In this NBA Cup, in a spot where the Cavs haven't lost a game, I could see a clear path for Tatum playing that type of minutes again. I mean, he played 42 versus Toronto. You don't think he'll come out and play 40-plus versus the Cavs? in the NBA Cup, the undefeated Cavs, where I'm sure they are motivated to win, I think there's absolutely a possibility for 60 and mid 50s are very likely if he's playing, 40 plus minutes. So even in a tough spot, I'm interested to go to Tatum. Power forward on FanDuel. All right, we got LeBron James, Brandon Clark, 3,900, 36% owned. He has been starting, but only playing 16, 20 minutes a game. And that's my issue, is I just don't see much of a ceiling with him only playing that amount of minutes. If you want to go there, fine. Maybe he lucks into 24, 26 minutes because he's playing well. But that's the path to him getting a ceiling. The role we pretty much know, most likely outcome, 18, 19 minutes. 22 on the upside. Hard to count on that any more than that. But if he gets it, there's a little bit of a ceiling because we've seen them past. He can score fantasy points in bunches. 5,400, Zach Collins. I absolutely love going back here. Zach Collins is playing Jalen Williams at center. And so those rebounds, he's going to be able to get them. He's going to be able to get put back points and all that kind of stuff. Maybe some blocks or steals. I'm interested in going to Collins at only 5,400. He played 26 minutes and put up 37. So if he plays that again, it's absolutely intriguing to go that way. Rui, we talked about. All right, lastly, Grant Williams for the power forward spot. He has been playing center with all their centers hurt. Now he's against Brooklyn Nets and Ben Simmons at center at 5,500. I think this is an interesting spot. The Hornets could win this game. And if they do, there's a good chance that it is because Grant Williams has played a decent game, got boards, and been able to get some buckets here. So 5,500, I'm willing to take a shot. All we need is him to play this, 34, 35 minutes, something like that. And he absolutely can pay off this price. And nobody's going there. So I'm intrigued by that one. I think it is the most likely path for him. But do make sure he is a starter, because if he's not, those minutes are not secure. Power forward on DraftKings. LeBron, Murphy, Tatum, John Collins, 6,900. John Collins, super interesting to me. I like this spot. AD and John Collins probably won't play a ton of the two of them in the same lineup because they will eat each other for boards. But it is an interesting spot, and he has a giant ceiling at his price. He can absolutely hit 50s. He's done it twice in the last couple weeks. Also mid 40s is there. So very intrigued by some JC. Center on to FanDuel. Brandon Clark. We know my feelings there. Zach Collins. I'm all on board. Charles Bassey. I think this one is an interesting one. I would really like him to see solid minutes. However, might only be in the case of a blowout that he gets it. I wish this guy was going to come off the bench behind Zach Collins. Now, could he? Maybe. But he is a solid fantasy per minute producer. So if he gets minutes, it's really interesting. However, we have been only projected at 17 minutes. It's very hard to have a ceiling, especially at 4,200. AD, I absolutely love AD. Dude's been living in the 60s. He is 11.2K, so you need a 60s performance from him. But versus the Jazz, he can do it. He's done it before. Last year, 55, 59, and 60s. And the offense is more tailored to him this year than it was last year. Grant Williams, we talked about, and then Al Horford, 5,300. All right, we have him at 28 minutes right now. He was playing, 20 to 27-ish to start the year. There's some games that he gets up to 30. My thought here is that 32 plus is likely where he's going to be tonight versus the Cavs. in, an NBA Cup. I've said it a couple times. I think the Celtics are going to be very motivated to try and knock the Cavs off here. That means more minutes for their starters, specifically Horford. I don't think they want to go to, say, Quetta or Cornette. And I think Horford's in a very interesting spot. If you give him 34 minutes at 5,300, the likelihood of hitting 6x is pretty good, and he can definitely hit, 7, 8x and going low owned. I'm pretty intrigued to go that way. Center on DraftKings, Bassi. Consensus is 20 points on him. People must be expecting him to get back up to 20 minutes ago. Again, if he does at 3,400, he has a little bit of a ceiling, but 25 is probably a ceiling, not 28 or 30. John Collins, I love. Grant Williams, 4,800 on DraftKings is great. Cheaper is just more value. Mobley, 7,900 is a little interesting, and Brandon Clark at 3,800. My thoughts on that one. Kenrich Williams, if his minutes go up a little bit more, is slightly interesting, but I can't really count on it in this spot. So that'll do it for us today, guys. Good luck. Let's win some money, and I will be back tomorrow with more DFS action, and later today with a NFL preview for Week 12. All right, see you guys later. Peace.